All right, we're live. So let me just jump right in on this. Sorry, I just got done recording a podcast, JavaScript Jabber. You can go check it out, devchat.tv. Anyway, so let's talk about your sponsorship message. Because a lot of times, especially in my space, because it's programming and tech, right? And so I've got people sponsoring that want to get programmers or programming teams to come use their product. And what's interesting is that and I'm changing this right now. But one of the things that I've realized is that a lot of times what I do is I say, okay, give me a script and I'll read it. And the problem is that a lot of these folks aren't doing a lot of this kind of thing. And so their script is, hey, we do this thing and 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 this thing. And then sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And it usually just depends on whether or not people want those particular features or not. But the reality is that what you're really looking to do, because I mean, our ads are 45 seconds, right? It's not very long. So it's not like I can give you a big, long, drawn out reason to jump in and do it, right? If you want to do that, you have to do a podcast episode. There's an idea for me. I'll do that one tomorrow. But yeah, so your sponsorship message has to give them a reason to go jump in and click the link, right? Or follow the link, okay? It's got to give them a reason to go, all right, I need that product, right? Or I want that thing. And so you've got to make that connection in their head. The reason that the Datadog that I talked about yesterday, that their ad worked so well is because people wanted the t-shirts, right? And so it gave them a reason to go and check them out, right? And then it turned out that, you know, they signed up for the free trial, they got the shirt, and there wasn't any incentive for that next offer, right? There wasn't that next thing. So, you know, we talked about that yesterday with Rule of 7. But for this, what we're looking for is what can we do to give them that reason, right? So what is it, right? So for Datadog, the reason isn't you can monitor all your crap. Your reason is when something goes wrong, you can come in and you can figure out what's wrong in 5 minutes. So you can go back to bed at 4 o'clock when it broke down, right? And so that's the offer. That's the deal. Or another thing they could do is they could give out, hey, look, we have a 10-day course for you to set up all the monitoring you're going to need on your app, right? And then the people who know they need or want monitoring will go check it out. Or they could actually tie it to some other outcome they want, right? And so it's how to start tracking the numbers on your app so that you can increase the efficiency of your app or the performance of your app, or, you know, how to get more throughput on your server, right? I mean, that's ultimately what they're selling. They're not actually selling monitoring. I mean, they are, but monitoring is just a means to an end, right? And so if you can get in there and you can get inside people's heads and you can go, okay, what's in it for me? Like, what's the outcome, right? Now, for something like that, or another one's like bug tracking, right? I hope I never need to use it, right? Is really the deal, right? I hope I never have bugs. I hope I never have performance issues. But reality with software is that I'm going to have some of these issues. And so I've got to tie in that thing, you know, whatever it is that gets them in. So then instead of your sponsorship message being, hey, this episode's sponsored by Datadog, go check them out because they track all of these performance metrics. It's, hey, are you concerned about performance on your web app? And I promise you, all the developers going, huh? Yeah. Well, then you need to go set up Datadog to track these 6 numbers on your application so that at the end of the day, when you have a performance problem or when you have a few minutes or you want to start saying this is the red line where we fix stuff, that you can go back and you can fix it. And I said all that in less than 45 seconds. In fact, it's even better if you can tell a story, right? So you have some company, especially if it's a company people have heard of. Well, General Electric installed Datadog on their blah, blah, blah GE healthcare app. And it helped them reduce the workload on each server by 25%. And they were able to save themselves $50,000 a month in data center costs. Hello, people are going to go for that. Even the startups are going to be doing that. They're going to be like, oh, I can cut my data center cost by, 25%. Well, maybe you're not really promising that, but you're telling people that the opportunity's there, and you're giving them a story that kind of bridges that gap. And you have that hook at the beginning that says, hey, do you want to fix your performance issues? Now, Datadog's not a performance company. That's not the problem they solve. The problem they solve is that they give you the visibility to do it yourself. But then what you can do is you can also turn it around and make the offer. And like I said, give them that handout, right? Step 1, go sign up for Datadog. Step 2, hook it into your app using these methods, right? For Java, JavaScript, Ruby, whatever, right? Step 3, right? Install the Datadog client on your server. Step 4, set it up so that your dashboard shows you these 6 analytics. Step 5, let it run for 3 days. Step 6, go look at those numbers. Anything that looks like this is probably something you need to discuss. Hello? I mean, that's simple, right? And then what you can do is once you can see they've gone through all those steps, then what you can do is you can turn around and you can say, okay, now that we see that you've optimized your server, your server performance, your other, this, right? These performance numbers went like, the response time went like this, or the performance went like this, however you want to do it, right? Then what happens is then you can turn around and you can actually say, all right, we see that you've been taking our advice. Now what we're going to do is we're going to help you with these other performance issues, right? So we're going to help you optimize your database. Well, and then the other thing is you can come back to my audience and you can say, all right, Chuck, we've been running the app performance ad for 12 weeks, right? For 3 months. And now we're going to turn around and we're going to do database performance, right? And then you're going to hook a whole bunch more people because they felt like their app was doing fine. But every time they do a query on their database, it slows down. So now all the people with that problem, right? Same thing, different funnel. And you can just come back and churn through that day in and day out. And then the other thing is you've got this funnel figured out. You know how to get people in the door. You know what you're doing. All you have to do is feed it traffic, right? And so what you do is you say, all right, Chuck, this has worked on JavaScript Jabber. So now we're going to go to 1 or 2 of your other shows. And we're going to go to the other podcast network and we're going to run the same ad over there. Because you've already done the work. And so this whole funnel just works in that way. And it's all because your message drives people through to something that they actually care about. Because they don't care about a monitoring solution. They care about performance. They care about bugs. They care about stuff that's hard to fix. They care about the parts of the code they don't want to touch. That's the stuff that they care about. And so no matter what you're selling, if you can sell it based on, hey, we're going to make this problem go away, that's the winning argument that's going to get people to click through or to go use the link that's mentioned in the show notes or go to the website and try and find you there, because that's the way that's going to work out. So that's what I recommend that you do for the sponsorship message. So just to start out, and maybe we'll just do this in another one, but I would just start it out with, if somebody is having a specific problem and they bring it to me and basically ask the question, what would you do to solve your performance issues, right? And the answer should be, well, I would go sign up for this solution, or Datadog in this case. I would go sign up for Datadog. I would start having it track my performance metrics, and then I would see where the problems lie, and then I would fix them. And then I would add more performance metrics on the other areas that I'm concerned about and rinse and repeat until I'm comfortable with the performance on the entire app. And then what I would do is I would go back, right? And so, and that's the story that you tell them. But you've got to have that question. What would you use to solve this problem? And the answer needs to be my product, right? This use case for my product. And if you can make your message like that, and you can do that in a minute or 30 seconds, then people will want to go and check you out. So that's the ad, that's the sell, That's the way that you get people in. And then you use the rule of 7 that I talked about yesterday to continue to make contact, because not everybody who clicks through and goes to wherever you send them is going to convert right away, right? And so you do that follow-up and you get those 7 contacts and you get them down the line. And in the meantime, you've got all the other people up here who hear about you again and again and again and again and again on the podcast. And then we do the email follow-up and you get 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And you're selling whatever it is that you're trying to sell on a podcast. By the way, this should work for products. If you're a product company making your own podcast, you can do the same thing. And you don't have to be super salesy. You just talk about these problems. And then you mention, while you're talking about it, hey, so the first thing I do is I start measuring this. By the way, we have a solution that does this. But if you're not going to use our solution, then here are the things that you need. Here are the features you need, right, in order to track it. It needs to be able to track these things. It needs to be able to give you feedback that looks like this, right? And essentially what you're doing then is you're giving them general information, but it's general information that applies directly to what you're doing. Anyway, I could go on and on about this. I'm trying to keep these to 10 minutes, so I'm going to wrap up. But honestly, sit down, figure out what those questions are, and then turn around and figure out what the story is, like what the process is, what's their journey to get the outcome they want. That is your selling proposition. All right, max out.